Hello and welcome in. I have Jimbo joining me today. Jimbo, super excited to have you here. Um, joining me and getting to sit down and chat a little bit. We were chatting a little bit about some production stuff and got some great feedback. So appreciate that. Always love your streams and everything you do. So I feel like I was learning from a master.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited for this. I love coming on and doing any MFL content. And when you reached out, I was like, yes, I've not been on anything for a long while. It's quite nice to sort of sit and relax and just answer questions rather than asking them and worrying about everything, all the production being right. I'm like, I can just sit back and relax now. So looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on, Ryan.
Yeah, glad you're here. And I get that. Somebody else's problem if there's an echo or an overlay or a dog barking in the background. It's not your problem. That's fantastic. Um, so we'll start off. We're just past the end of the season. So quick kind of summary. How did your season end? I'm sure plenty have seen, but give us
Mm.
a quick rundown.
Well, my season hasn't quite finished yet because I have two teams in the playoffs. I have my Espartales, who finished third. Should have finished second, but I was rightfully beaten to end up finishing third. So they've got their third place running, which is just a horrific way to get promoted from those extra games and the fatigue. And then you play the team in the division above you who probably are stronger and probably have better fatigue. Well, we can go on that for a long, long time.
Yeah,
The third team, the newest team, this is their third season now, the Wents and Worms. Um, they finished eighth, I believe it was, and I predicted like 10th. It's just a team where I don't really, just a fun team. I don't
yeah,
try and get promoted. I think I got into the playoffs last season, and a lot of people have been, doing pretty well and ice those who have come up from Spark or, we even Flint next year in 2 years' time who've been quite strong. They'll get into that. So I need to sort of keep strengthening that side, but I don't particularly want to. I just sort of shove it with players that I've got that can fit in there. And then, last we got the flagship team, the Wents and Wyverns. I was playing FC Cincinnati, Profound Sodas team on stream yesterday, which I think most people saw. If I won, I got second, but if I lost or drew, I was at the peril of Florianopolis, which is managed by Gully World. And thankfully, I lost 2-0. You can see I lost my last two games of season, 4-0, 2-0 to the top two. So I wasn't
yeah.
really too shocked at that. But fortunately, Marvelous City MFC, owned by Duff or Apollo Sports Group, beat Florianopolis, which means I maintained my place in third position. So the Wyverns have a third place run for the playoffs, which is exciting. I'm nervous because it's my first time being in the bronze playoffs. I've always sort of overachieved in bronze, but now I get to sort of go a bit further with it, which is quite interesting. I think I'm kind of nervous because I've got Ronan in the third v third, his bottom feeders team. I feel like I should be able to beat it, but MFL variants, whatnot.
Yeah.
I think he is stronger, but I believe, I always believe I can beat him. Believe I can beat anyone. But the second v second, if Cincinnati loses that second v second and I win, I'm playing them again. And I just don't fancy that whatsoever. But I have looked ahead to the ninth place in silver, and they're sort of, 83, 82s, and they finished ninth in silver. So I think that's fully beatable. Oh, it's already up. I didn't realize the playoff schedule was already out. Yeah. So I'm not fancying. I really hope that Sal Craggy lose that game, so I don't have to play Cincinnati because I don't fancy playing a 90 rated centre back in bronze. Like, it's just a back four of an average of like 87 in bronze is just horrific.
So
But
there's
yeah,
another way. We can just pray for a red card, and
yeah,
you
we
can go
can.
again against FC Cincinnati.
The one thing I've sort of got going for me is that because I knew I had the two strongest teams in the league in the last two matches, I rotated into the second to last one because I knew I'd lose it anyway. So for fatigue-wise, I've got most of my players are above 96, 97 going into the playoffs, which is actually quite a nice position to go in if I do end up going that full route. But I've got to win my games first. I've got to play, who's in front of me. So I
Yeah.
know this time tomorrow, I'll have 6, 7 hours until the game kicks off, and I'm going to be sweating it. I'll be sweating it. I'll be nervous.
He is on 4 yellows. We don't even need a red card. We need a yellow. So find out who the ref is, slide him a 20.
Yeah, he's got
And
three players on 4 yellows. So Cincinnati does lose and then get a few of those players knocked out. I've
Yeah.
it's well reminded because you know what, I've not even checked my own squad and seen what my my yellow card situation is like. Because knowing my luck, I'll end up getting 2 or 3 suspended. But I'm looking forward to the playoffs. It's probably the most meaningful one I've had in MFL since the Wyverns got promoted from Iron to Bronze in Season 1 through the third place playoffs. And I don't really count that as a playoff run because it was the easiest playoff run possible in all the seasons because all the leagues were so imbalanced. Someone finishing ninth could have like a stone rated team. So you knew if you got there, you were basically through. I
Yeah.
think I won it
The
7-0 or something.
power creep has really turned up. The first season that I joined, I was kind of complaining about how strong the teams at the top of the league were. And my thought process was it'll sort itself out and the bottom leagues will get a little easier, was kind of my like very oversimplified thought. And everyone's just gotten stronger.
Mm.
And it's even more so at the higher teams, the bronze, the silvers, where difference between 1 and 11 is 14 overall points. Um, but yeah, it's funny how things changed. And looking back, it's like, man, that was such an easy cup run. And scouting games now, it's like, oh, these are all going to be really hard. I'm going to need good
Yeah.
tactics and favorable variance um, and all that. Are you planning on doing a a stream tomorrow, a live stream tomorrow to
I'm
run through playoff games?
I'm not planning on doing so. If the Wyverns were to make it all the way to the ninth, or the final game, I might consider it. But I know we've planned on recording the pod at like 8 p.m. UK, which I'm pretty sure is when, I don't know when the schedule, that might be when that game is. So it might be during live if I was to ever get to that end game. 4:30 p.m. So what's that? Half nine? Half nine? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
half nine UK. We might be done by then, so I might chuck one on. But usually, like Fridays and Saturdays are pretty tough for me to stream.
yeah,
Saturdays especially because it's weekend.
yeah.
Um, but Sunday we might be able to try and squeeze one in, depending if the Wyverns go out tomorrow, then definitely not.
Great encouragement for the community. We're rooting for the win. Get the get the crowd behind you. Yeah, I get that. I remember Laird had his kind of famous playoff stream on a Friday, and I remember he
mm,
was going to the Pens, and he made a comment and said something like, "They better win because I'm not streaming tomorrow." And it
yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
um, so uh, good luck. That's
Thank you.
exciting. I have a couple of teams in playoffs, and um, it feels real. You know, like when you're watching your team and you're getting down to that last match day and you're trying to do math, and then sometimes you can kind of figure it out and sometimes it's just too complicated and you're like, well, let's just win.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
and then you've got playoff promotion and some other fun stuff. I really like, brings a little bit of drama into it. It's a great little spell.
It,
um,
yeah, it could definitely be too easy to like, overthink playoffs as well and try and be too technical and tactical around it. But you're there for a reason if you've got into the playoffs. So you just keep doing what you're doing and try not tamper with things too much. That's what in my mind, if I overthink tactics, I'm like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm thinking about it for more than like 2 minutes. I'm probably overthinking it, and I shouldn't be doing what I'm telling myself I should be doing because it will just make things worse.
uh, that's a good point. The flip side of that is if you underachieve and you somehow find your way into like the ninth place spot and you were supposed to be better. And I have a team that's in that area where
Ooh.
they should have been mid table and they finished ninth place. And I'm like, I'm here because my tactics have been terrible all year long. And I'm like, do I just stick with what my best runs were? Do I try and still tinker this late in the season? But yeah, all in good fun. We'll see. It's part of the joy that
Yeah.
that variance bug, that bite might hit a little harder if it doesn't quite go your way.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic, whole nother conversation. So
Good luck for your playoff games, though.
yeah, thank you. Likewise. So I did want to talk. You were one of the first ones on MFL, and I'm sure this story has been talked about in the past. But how did you find MFL initially? We've had kind of some big waves from a couple of individual people, but you were long before that.
Mm. So I joined in, oh wow, June 2022 was when I joined. I think the game and like the Discord and things first was set up in November, December 2021. So I know people like Taggart, Bucks, Yoka, I think a couple of those guys were in around that time. So I consider I joined just after they stopped giving away like the OG badges for your Discord roles. And I was like, oh damn it, I wanted to collect that one, but I still consider myself an OG because it's been over 3 years, sort of thing. But I
Yeah.
was I was I've always been into like crypto and things since like 2017 or so, and like many people in sort of the the Dapper ecosystem or the Flow ecosystem, collected on Top Shot. I was fortunate to get in and out before it all sort of burst, which was quite nice. Um, and then I think it was June 2022. I got a comms email, and this is so not me to ever look at my emails. I must have been really bored at 10:30 on like a Thursday night, and I just saw like, oh, hang on, there's a Football Manager game coming, like already out. Let's go check it out. And I'd always told myself, if there was ever a Web3 game that was orientated around football, and it was, like a Football Manager game, not like So Rare, which is more the fantasy side, like a Football Manager game. If I liked it and I could see it was legit, because a lot of projects just, rug or just don't fulfill what they say they will, I was
Yeah.
like, I want to become a part of it, not just as a player, but sort of like not a content creator, but just be someone vocal within the space who people know and help people out and things like that. So I joined and read the white paper wasn't even out, sorry. Just joined. That was when you could set up an account and there were still packs on the marketplace or packs available. You could just go and buy. Oh, buy a pack for $10 or so. Or when standard packs or whatever they were called back then were literally like $15, $10. Rare packs were $49 or so, which is now just unreal prices to think about.
Yeah.
And then rest is history really. Just wanted to help people on the site, answer questions, welcome them in, and then I guess rest is history from there.
Does it seem harder to kind of do what you've been doing for 2 years with the big growth spells? Or are you kind of just loving it, enjoying all of it?
I think there's been a little bit of a transition where, say, like that whole captain role of welcoming people in, answering questions, being that sort of bridge between the community and the team. And, we often get, Matt and Lucas and co will say, oh, we're thinking about doing this. Can we get your opinion? What will the community think? And we get to see a little bit of a sneak peek on some things. Which some things we have to agree that because we know this knowledge, we can't buy players until it's released. Which I've got a story about that later, which I nearly fumbled the bag with that. But so I always joke about if you see the captains not buying anything for like 4 weeks, there's probably something on the horizon that might impact the marketplace. But
Yeah.
because of this large boom over the last, say, like 6 months or so, and there's so many people who've been joining, people have just been naturally taking up that role themselves, welcoming people in, helping people with answering questions. Because I work from home, I can quite often just look at Discord and monitor it, which is quite nice and sort of enable me to do that role.
Yeah.
Also, the last sort of like year when Dirk has really taken off, where my focus of more is that as a community and growing that. I think my view on MFL has been like, how can I build the community and the community that we've got, as well as enjoying the game. So sort of it's no different to what I always do, but there's more people just doing that captain role, even though they don't have the role, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep. One of the things that I have really enjoyed is I kind of see little circles forming. There's like ramble circles, there's Windurk circles, there's layered circles. There's a lot of overlap, but still kind of seeing like the um uh crap,
Like
what's the word?
uniqueness, like
Um the just kind of the social circles forming, kind of the like
yeah.
little pods. But everyone is really friendly with each other, like
Mm,
the Nep people and the Wendark people, and there aren't these like combative
no,
groups.
it's not
Where
tribal in any way, is it?
right, I get at least. But the communities has been great. And I think whether somebody's like, oh, that's a Jimbo guy or that's a Laird guy, it's still very much still kind of like one big community at the end. And everyone's been pretty willing to help. I'm sure there's still some secrets held back, but um,
I
welcoming
try.
on new members and
Yeah, I think I don't. If people come to my DMs and say I've got problem with a tactic or something, and I've not done it for a while because tactic I've not been the best the last couple of years, but I was overachieving for a number of years with 3-5-2. I remember helping out people and was like, yeah, I'll just share my tactics with you. Like we're 3 or 4 divisions apart. You learn that a particular person's formation and tactics in no way mean that if I share it with someone, they can perform the same way, just because there's so much difference between people's setups. But yeah, I don't really, when we have people like in the Wendirk group or circus you call it, I just see everyone as like people are just fluid between every single community.
Yeah,
And I'm sure there are people who more associate with the Wendirk side and the Ramble side, but I view everyone as like is just an MFL community member. Obviously, there's some
yeah,
people who are like, goated in each one and help out and things like that. But yeah, I think the community is one of the highlights of MFL, just how helpful it is. And with a game where you're competing against other people, there is such a passion for helping others out, because ultimately, if everyone is happy and succeeding and having fun, first and foremost, then the game succeeds and grows, in my opinion.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And I think that's been what has been so uh, healthy and helpful. And I'm hoping that that continues, that that culture can sustain, and hopefully the growth can sustain as well. Um, so going back a little bit, the Wyverns is kind of your head concept and head logo. And I love it. I think Calvin made a joke about everyone's got lions and tigers or something. And I love the uniqueness of that. Where did that come from?
So it's a Norwich-based license, and I always knew that when I saw a Norwich-based license was going to be in the game, I said that whatever division that's at, that's where I'm starting in the pyramid. And I was hoping it wasn't going to be like Plat or Diamond, because I knew I was in trouble. Fortunately, it was Iron, and it was Joe B who has just sold his Marseille club for like $3,000 or so. He packed it, and I was straight in the DMs because someone tagged me and was like, Joe B was like, I'm looking to sell it. And I think he'd sold it to be for like club price or pack price. I was like, I'm happy with that. That's my hometown. That's where I want to be. And I wanted to have something that wasn't just like our Norwich X or Norwich Y club. I wanted it to be sort of like localized to a particular area within there. So you have to know. Everyone just sees it as Wensom Wyvern, but if you're from Norwich, you understand like Wensom's a particular area within there, like
Okay.
in like the northwest, and it's a river that flows through Norfolk into Norwich, and so on and so forth. And it was originally going to be called Wensom Wanderers until I googled that. It's actually a real team, like they play Sunday League, and I thought I just cannot have this. I want to build like a Twitter, presence for it, etc. I can't have a Wensom Wanderers when there's actually a Sunday League team. Yes, that probably could have opened up opportunities for like collaborations and we have a team in real life and a team in the metaverse, and do the players and the managers from that real team want to manage my team. But I was like, I really want to do sort of like an animal swing to it. Obviously the Norwich, our nickname is the Canaries. I was like, I can't really put Wensom Canaries or anything like that. I just thought, what sort of what other W starting animal or whatever could I pick? And I was like, wyvern. So I was had to Google it a bit. And I knew what they were, but understand a bit more. And I went, yeah, we're just going to stick with wyvern. I always say wyverns, but it's wyvern. I always get that muddled up myself. So I made, I had that set in stone. I probably did about 20, 30 different iterations of logos. I had a mid-journey subscription for I only cancelled it probably about 4 months ago. But so I was using that so much back when Art Generation probably was just starting. And right at the top of the logo, I'm a big fan of just random quotes. If you click on it, it will large up as well, I think, and then you come to the middle of your screen. But for those who know the first Transformers and the Witwiki motto of "No sacrifice, no victory," I planted that onto the Wyverns logo at the top there. And then I think it's a quite detailed badge. And truth be told, wyverns have a pair of wings, and you can't really see that on there. And it looks more like a serpent, but the water is supposed to be for the River Wensum that flows through Norwich. So my argument
Nice.
is you just can't see the wings because it's behind it and folded back. But that's where the wyverns came from. I think it was either Eric or Duff the saying like you win some, you lose some. You can say, oh, you win some, you lose some. I thought that was great. I'd take no credit for that. That's all someone else. I think it was Eric or someone. But yeah, that's the story of the Wyverns, and I think they are the second or third oldest team in MFL in terms of when the club was established. I asked Yax when he came on the pod, like I say, years ago now. I can officially say that. And I think if you go to the info tab, it says like when the club was established, and March the 30th, 2023, 5/11. So that was at
Nice.
10 o'clock UK time. And I think I had everything set up, ready to go, like the color, palette, the logo, everything. That whole spiel in there as well was all ready to go for when the clubs are being established. I remember saying to Yak, "Oh, is this the oldest club in MFL?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Brilliant! I can't even say that. I can't even say it's the oldest club in MFL. I have to say it's the second or third." So yeah, I take immense pride in that because that was my only team for about a year. So I was like, I want to get this right. I want to get this big. I want to make it flashy, and every sort of detail that you can change about it and personalize your club with. I want that to be done from day one. So the description, the Twitter, I think if you go onto the Twitter, the pinned tweet is when we announced our club is forming and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I take immense pride in the Wyverns, and because it's a Norwich-based location, it just means more to me as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Fun to have kind of that extra little bit of connection with a metaverse club. I think the license number is 85. I wrote down. Did they not issue the licenses in order? So I'm assuming like license 1, license 2, license 3. They weren't
No, they
pack
weren't.
purchased.
No, they weren't like pack purchased or ordered. What it does mean, though, which is really great, is because training's done in club order ID. It means that my training for the Wyverns is done within like 4 minutes. So once we get that, once training starts on the hour, I know if I can just wait 5 minutes, my training's done. And obviously, I've got to wait like 15 minutes for my second club, and then it's like 30 minutes or 35 minutes for the Worms, and then development centre's done after that. So that's get pushed back and back each season. But I know the Wyverns, for the most part, are done within 5 minutes, and that's such a nice feeling. But
I
also not a great one if you do
realize
bad training.
I didn't realize that it wasn't just a switch. Every time for me, like I wake up and check and it's done. With the whenever it's done is sleeping hours for us, so it's always just done when I wake up. I didn't realize that it was kind of done on a rotation. But I also didn't realize like the retirement badges and some of those items, like they're like more like a progress bar than a switch. And there's been a couple times that I'm like, oh yes, like I avoided the retirement logo.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, we're not done. And then an hour later,
Yeah.
like, no, I celebrated too early.
I think that was always done on player ID number, but I believe last season it was slightly different where some people were saying, oh, my player's got a retirement badge of ID 70,000, but mine on 40, or like none of mine have aged and they're at ID 40 or 40,000, sorry. So I don't really know if the aging bit is now anyway for this transition might be a bit different, but historically it had always been the ID numbers. But yeah, you sort of just check it and refreshing, going through all your players and seeing when someone on Discord's gone, oh, mine's just hit the retirement at 85,000, and you're like, I've got no one above that, so I should be good.
Yeah, interesting. Well, now that's all up in the air. We'll have to figure out kind of how that works. Funny how we're all closely following and stressing the retirement badge.
Days time.
So one of the questions I love to ask is, do you have a single favorite player in your club?
I do. It used to be a chap called Reynaldo Romo who's in my agency. He was in my first ever pack. He was a 16-year-old, 74 rated right wing. I had high hopes for him. He's currently on loan at Le Pulga, which is Barky McLovin's team. I had high hopes for him being a 16-year-old, but he's only got up 3 overall. Right at the top there. And
okay, gotcha.
And I had high hopes for him, but he's literally like poo-pooed in progression, like gone up +3. And Jason had him, or Barky McLovin had him, and I said, by the way, like historically, he goes up like a +1 in like the first week, and then it's just nothing else for the rest of the season. And he went up a +1 and went, Jimbo, I'm going to be different, and then did nothing for the rest of the season. I think it was when he turned 20, you can see the progression is quite early on in the season. Then when he's 20 years old, and then it's just flatlined since. And
Yeah.
I was like, have I just got really unlucky? So that could be that. But other than that, my favorite player right now is probably my highest rated player, which is Dominic Drozd. I bought him as an 81. He's now an 85. He'll probably go up to about an 87 minimum. I bought him when he was 24. And just because he's really exciting, because he's a bit of a progression beast. He's probably one of the better progression people in my agency. But I can't really single out a particular favorite player. I've got like a top 3 or a top 4. And it rotates depending on how their progression is doing each season, basically, and if they're frauds or not.
I was going to ask that. It's funny, and I'm exactly the same way. It's not based on how they're doing in the season. It's based on how they're progressing. 15 goals, I don't care about you. I want those progression points. Bring me the
Yeah,
plus twos.
I've got a chap in the development center who's coming out this end of this season, a couple of days time. He should be 65 rated. His name's Graham Hudson, the most British name going, and I can't remember what I packed him as, but he was a 49. Is that? I think it's a 49.
I
And I
think
had
so.
him in the Wyverns just as literally just for training XP. And he went up +3, and I went, hang on, I think I've got something here. Like, he's never played. He gets max training because he's way below that average, that best average of top 16. Chuck him in dev center for 4 seasons, and he's now gone from 49 to 65.
Yeah.
And he's pushed through that tier jail this season as well. So he'll come out, probably go into the Wents and Worms, and progress on. And I like that because his progression line is quite flat in terms of its upward trajectory. It's not sort of. I quite like that, just nice straight line. It's quite nice to look at, and hopefully, if he can keep doing like 3 a season for the next 2-3 seasons, then you
Yeah.
never know. I hope he gets about 70 at least.
He's still only 22. The picture makes him look like he's 37, but
Yeah,
you should have plenty more,
with hair
plenty more
gelled
years.
back and slicked back like that, he looks like he's part-time, sort of like people from the UK will get like a barber if he was like a reform voter sort of thing. That's what he looks like. People from UK will understand that.
um, and he's below
Yeah, he's
the cutoff line for retirement.
just below. So hopefully he doesn't retire before 33 or 34. Basically, that's my hope.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. There's been a couple times that I've looked at players, and if they're like 81,000, I kind of mentally place a little bit less value on them. And it's interesting because it doesn't mean they're going to retire, but it means as an average they're going to retire
Mm.
earlier. And I'm like, I'm paying for less years. It'll be interesting to see as we start to see retirements kick up quite a bit more this year, and then going forward, it'll be interesting to see how people track that. And I know there's some AI programs and stuff that are trying to look at progression and trying to project progression. I think the next wave of that is probably going to be people trying to project retirement. I don't know how they'll
Mm.
use AI models, but that'll be another big advantage if people can get an extra year or two out of a player and figure something
Yeah,
out about when they retire. That could be a
most definitely.
huge advantage. Um, so I think everyone knows you for the Winder cast. You're kind of doing at least 3 different types of content right now. Everyone knows the live streams embedded in the page. You're doing the podcast that comes out once a week, and you did a vlog. Was this the first vlog you've done?
That was the first vlog I'd done. I wanted to, because I knew it was quite a small event in terms of the amount of people going, and obviously we've got a massive user base out in the States, and just people who couldn't come attend the event because it was planned with about 6 weeks, 2 months notice from
Yeah.
everyone, or being announced, that it was happening. And I thought, well, we do the live streams and the weekly pod. I thought, grow a pair, Jimbo, and just try and vlog it. Obviously, there was an element to, and I really enjoyed it. It was a bit weird, especially sort of like when you start in your home and then you're in London, and I've just ran to St Pancras, and I've just quickly having to pop the camera around. Everyone's looking at you, and in that moment, I just could not give a flying f what people were thinking. And but then part of it was, I think, obviously you guys won't notice this, and I was quite conscious of it, was that I wasn't sure if I put enough content in it in terms of the actual event, but then there was this opportunity cost of stuff that I vlog or have the phone out, then am I missing out on the experience of that first time event? And I try to keep a balance to myself. I could have gone round and interviewed everyone, but I was,
Yeah.
in hindsight, I would have loved to have done that. But I still wanted to just go and meet everyone and talk to people, and it was just a phenomenal event. Funnily enough, I was at like a family birthday party the other weekend, and family members like my cousin and that, they all know I do the pod. They always joke about it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we're going to see more vlogs from you." And I'm like, "What do you want me to vlog? What do you want me to vlog? That's not a trip. Like, what can I do? Like, oh, like a day in the life. What do you mean? Wake up, work, after work, when work. What do you want? There's nothing more. There's nothing more to it than that."
Yeah. I was gonna ask, you kind of answered the question. I was gonna ask if you have kind of more aspirations to do more vlogs or other content outside of that. Um, I guess the answer to
Uh,
that is it would have to be a special event.
yeah, the vlogs have to be a special event. For months and months, I've always wanted to do like more YouTube stuff. Whether it's, I find that the streams are really great because MFL as a game, I think, is very catered towards live streams because it's in the here and now, and it's so fast paced. And a YouTube video uploaded a day of the games, when you watch it, the other games have happened, and it's maybe it's already old by the time it's released, unless you're doing like weekly or monthly or seasonal overviews. Whereas the live streams, you experience it in the here and now. People want to go back and watch it, they can watch it. So still that outdated element to it, like a regular YouTube
Yeah.
video, but it's so catered toward live streams. If I was to do any YouTube stuff, it'd probably be like when we had the boom in like season 4, season 3. I really want to do like a massive tutorial thing just about how to get started, top tips, because together Cal and I have about 6 years worth of experience playing the game. So
Yeah.
just sort small things like I didn't know about the training, the club ID implements and training. That has a negligible impact on the way you play MFL, but it's just nice to know. And
Yeah.
just as Calvin calls them, not tips and tricks, tips and tops. But I think maybe we'd ever go down that route of just more YouTube videos, but I'm not sure what it would look like, unless it's like clipped versions of the streams in smaller, snappy bits, maybe. But that'd probably have to be done with like AI, because to go watch like 2.5 hour streams unless I'm noting all the times sounds quite tough.
Yeah. It's a great idea and call out to do kind of like tutorial videos. One of the things that's really challenging about that is, and I'm kind of referencing my experience with another strategy game that's very different. The game changes so frequently,
Mm-hmm.
and as you've kind of mentioned, there's a pretty good likelihood that we'll see a pretty large uh, cosmetic or visual change. So if you guys did stuff now and put in 10 hours of work for 3 hours of videos, even if that was uh, like 10-18 minute videos, a lot of it will look different. And then
Yeah.
as a new user, as soon as you see something that doesn't look right, you're very quick to just write it off and be like, no, this is old. It's not good anymore. Um, as ugly as it kind of is, having that online presence where you're doing streams and stuff and people can then start to ask questions is very helpful as well. And the white pages are very good. So there are layers. They do update the white pages as stuff changes.
Mm.
Um, so I've heard people talk about that idea of like, we want to do these like new user tutorials. And the other side about that's kind of ironic is, unless they're kind of like embedded in the site, it's not the first thing that people find is
Mm.
the new user tutorials. Um, so it is a little hard to do an application, I think. But I love the idea, and I love just the continuation of community and helping others, and um, kind of getting
Yeah.
into it, which is
I
awesome.
think there is a knowledge base MFL has, which you can go there and ask. I don't know how often it's updated by the team or whatever, but when that was created, it was pretty up to date. And I got I got asked to make some videos to like accompany some of the sections on there. And if you go back, I watch it back every now and then. It's just horrendous. It's before we sort of do the live stream, before we sort of that sort of thing, and I'm like, hi, I'm here to do, and I'm like, it sounds awful, but even then, some of those videos, like how to list your club or how to do X, Y, Z, I look at it now and go, the interface has changed completely there now, so
Yeah,
it's completely different, and like as you said, quite rightly so, it's such a fast-paced game, but a fast-paced, evolving application, a website as well, so yeah, there is a sort of outdated element to it, so it's going to be quite hard unless you're doing it regularly and updating it all the time. It's quite hard to keep up with that.
Yeah, it's almost a full time job. Um, you have a you have almost two full time jobs. You've got the Winder casting. You've got a you know, your real life job, your full time
Yeah,
job. So it, it's a great idea. I always love when I hear it. Company I work for has somebody that literally their full time job is documentation, um, and they're adding roles underneath that person because even with a full time job, just in our division of my company, they can't keep up with all the changes and
wow,
stuff that's going on, and they're going to add a person underneath them. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's a great idea, but nothing stays still long enough to finish
yeah,
the project. So more Winder cast, more podcasts, kind of more of the same is kind of what we expect from the future.
yeah. I think it would be like more podcasts in terms of every now and then, even though we're up to like episode 104 now, I think it is. We have done like an extra 6, 7 episodes called Extra Dirks. You drop midweek, and it's either something big or new happens, or if we would do a recording and had a couple of times, I think it's Sturge and Ron John have brought their own quizzes, and the recording lasts about 2.5 hours. So we'll start like the quiz in the episode, we'll then drop it, we'll cut it from that main Monday drop, and then in midweek we'll then release a full quiz because a 2.5 hour episode is far too long. We're getting towards
Yeah,
Avatar movie length times here, or just average movie length times now, and that's quite a lot for one particular episode. But if you can break it down to like sort of 2 15 minute, 2 hour and 15 minutes, it's much more enjoyable and digestible for the audience.
yeah, for sure. That makes a ton of sense. My last couple of episodes have been getting longer and longer, and um, I love doing it, but I'm like, I gotta try and manage the amount that people are taking in because it feels a bit long.
You can always
Uh,
part two it, part one, part two. That can happen.
I thought about that with Trust the Process, and I think part of me got lazy, and part of me was like, whatever, you come
Yeah.
back to it on YouTube. um, but awesome. So you talked a bit about the meetup. One of the kind of for fun questions I have is, all right, so let's assume that the next one is in the United States, or one is in the United States. When or where is it? And then what do we have to do to get you there? What do we have to do to get you on a plane to the US?
So if we assume the next one's in the US, I feel like where should we meet? Obviously, I'm not going to be able to pick. I wish you go to this particular bar in the center of Nashville or something like that, right? I've not got that sort of knowledge, but I'd probably East Coast, best connected to, well, pretty well connected in terms of like states within America, between states, but also from a travel point of view of Europe, it's pretty easy. Obviously, we can get over to sort of like Texas and Utah and Nevada pretty easy and direct, but it's obviously extra time, it's extra money, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the East Coast, obviously, got the World Cup next year, so there is very good potential for it to be embedded and intertwined with that. How do we ensure that you join us? I think for most of us Europeans, if we were to go, it'd have to be pretty well announced in advance. This one was done 6 to 6 weeks, 10 weeks maybe, with the actual itinerary not really announced until about 2, 3 weeks before. But I think I'd want to say like at least half a year or so, maybe like at least 3 months, like a quarter, because it
Yeah.
takes because you then got to think about like I've got to either see if I've got the money to go or have I got you know we have annual leave in UK, so I get like 27 days a year or so that I can go right. I want to dedicate 5 full working weeks to have this week off. But if it's America,
Yeah.
you'd want to chunk it into like 2 weeks. You'd probably even want, my girlfriend would probably want to come along. We'd make our holiday out of it, but for a couple of days I'd be going out or, whatever, that sort of thing. So it'd have to be at least like 3, 4 months in advance. I'd love to come if it was fitting right. I'd love to be there, and I hope I can be there if and when. Oh, I say if it will happen, right? There's going to be one in the US. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
So that's what it'd probably do for me to be there. I'd make sure I'm there. Hopefully.
And I've said this. It could be informal as well. It could be Laird or somebody kind of leading a charge. I I think I've used Laird as an example. It would have to be a bigger name. Somebody would have to kind of get the ball moving and get people behind it. And I think once the build up started, once the ball got rolling downhill, then everyone would kind of be on board. But
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of logistics, and whether it's Americans coming over to Europe or Europeans coming over to America, time, money, passports, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But the World Cup coming is probably our biggest, best window to get the ball over the line. But
Mm.
I'm excited. I think a lot of us have kind of that fear of missed out already, and the FOMO getting to see everybody enjoy it and wanting to see and meet people in person, grab a beer, grab a sandwich, and just chat about MFL in person. I think everyone is excited about. So I'm gonna keep asking the question until it happens.
Yeah, I mean, and like, I really want to try and get something like the ball rolling with like a UK one. Obviously, they had the FOMO of not being there. There was an unfortunate
Yeah,
situation where the French ATC shock horror, they had a strike, as they do most months
yeah,
in the year, it seems, and which prevented a lot of people from going. Like Bosco, for example, another fellow captain who's been on the platform for about 3 years, and I've done the FP at MFL like initiative with him for, I think it's our 4th season now, and really great guy. I was really excited to meet him, and obviously he couldn't turn up, which was gutting. So I think there's a lot of fun from the Brits there. We're a bit more fortunate in the sense that we're a smaller country, so the logistics aren't as bad, but we have to sort of pick a central location. And because there are quite a few Brits at the Paris one, we've got to know each other quite well. And I think if it's us as a group who met each other and others who are interested, because all start to get the ball rolling, then something like up at Manchester, so the people from Scotland and Ireland can come across quite quickly and conveniently. That would be great. And I sort of want to, I don't want to put any pressure on myself or anyone to try and get something moving by putting dates, but like I want to try and get something this side of Christmas in, but
yeah,
it's I've never organised an event before, let alone try and organise one for like tens of 20, 30 people. And obviously, it would be nothing like going to a PSG stadium. It would be like an informal, do an event on a Saturday, and I don't know, like five-a-side or some sort of event activity, or go watch some non-league football or whatever, and then go have food drink after, or something as chill as that.
yeah. That makes sense. Probably even a bridge too far. I'm pretty sure if you get hotel blocks in like groups of 10, they will give you like a conference room. I don't know if that does anything for you, but
Oh,
um,
okay,
it may be like a very
yeah, I was
small
worth
window,
looking
small
into.
audience.
See, I don't book enough hotel rooms and blocks, so I never would have known that in the first place. So no, I appreciate that knowledge.
Yeah, I have, and it's assuming that the U.S. is kind of the same as Europe. Um, but I've done it a couple times. When we got married, we were looking into hotel block rooms, and honestly, it was more convenient for people to just book their own way.
Yeah.
Whether it's an Airbnb or a hotel, or I want to stay on this side of the street instead of that side of the street. Um, but it is an option, and hopefully, I say this kind of tongue in cheek. We're all adults. Hopefully, we're all adults, and hopefully, we can all figure out how to make it work. But
Well, to have a DAP account, I think you need to be at least 18 years old. So, everyone should be adults. Adults. Oh, I said adults. You maybe adults, not adults. Got me that American
um,
twang going.
so legally, I understand that, but I have also seen your live stream, and there is a lot of question about the adulthood of some of the behavior in
Oh,
there.
it's entertainment. It's entertainment.
So just obviously joking a little bit, but um, so the podcast this week, I watched the whole thing, was fantastic. Very much a tinfoil hat episode, which I felt a little called out personally, but also really enjoyed it. I loved the phrase "cope" and phrase talking about the wins and losses and talking about the zero sum. But so tinfoil hat time. Why do we think, or why do you think? What's your theory? Why second half of the season feels so different?
Yes, I want to point out first, obviously, we all understand that the engine doesn't change between seasons. We all know that. We can see that. And there probably will be like a dedicated episode, focusing solely on conspiracy theories in the future. That was sort of like a little teaser at it.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's, without saying the word variance, I think it's, in the mid-season, there's opportunity for people to strengthen their squads. There's that piece there. There's the piece around some people maybe lose interest or pay more attention in the second half of the season. That can have an influence. But it might have been that, you lost all your you won all your games the first half of the season, and then you lose all your games. As tough as this to take sometimes, we have to admit, you could have been really fortunate for those first 11 games. Now you're getting really unfortunate. And that's just how it works. It just seems to be that actually you've got them all in blocks. You've not got win, win, loss, win. You've just got win, 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 loss, 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 loss. But sometimes it can definitely feel like it's, like it's a new engine or different. I think because a few people feel that way, and I've definitely felt that way before. And I've had it where my season has completely turned around second half of the season because I made changes mid-season.
Yeah.
So I think there's that element. But also, of course, there's the V word of variance where that plays a factor in. It's just been on the particular side of the pendulum for one half a season of the other.
Yeah, I do think some people may use that as a crutch a bit. There is also within two teams that are fairly evenly matched up. Like if you go do three friendlies, and Sturgeon Andner talked about this, he said do 10 and then go do 10 more. If you do three games, you may get three very different results. And it feels so bad on an AI engine that you want to be predictable, but I think it's better that way. And if you look at real life, um, let's remove kind of some like the really big outliers of like the really strong teams. But if you watch like a like championship level where the margins between teams are probably quite a bit closer,
Yeah.
game to game is so different. Like
Yeah.
if you beat a team on the front half of the season going back, you're not like writing the plus 3 points into your standings. Like you're squeaky bum in real life.
I
So
think
it's
the champ. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. The championship is a really good example of that. The second division in the UK, where it's so extremely competitive, and it's not an uncommon occurrence that within about 3 months of the season, starting, we get this circle of this team beat this team beat this team, and it's just a full circle. Everyone has beaten everyone in some
yeah,
sort of circle because it's that competitive. And you're right. If it was predictable, it would be boring. It would be. If I go, oh, I know I've got a 99.9% chance, I know I'm at least going to keep a clean sheet, it would be boring. It keeps us on our toes for the games. Like my game last night with Cincinnati, historically, he performs pretty badly. He has a really good team, and he doesn't do well with his team. I'm maybe outing him a bit there, but the bloke is, when he's been in bronze, has been one top two in projections and on paper as well. First half of season 6, he was bottom of the league with 88s and 87s. It's like that's not variance, that's just poor tactics. Then he second half of season changed it. He went flying up. Did bring in 89s mid-season, but he pushed himself up there. But I knew that I was the underdog, but I knew because of a little bit of variance, a bit about my tactics, there was still a chance I could do it, and I was still confident. I love that there's the cope, but also there's the hope that you can still pull an upset. Not, oh, I know it's not going to work for me today.
yep, yep. So this one I think is a tough question to answer, and you may even want to kind of redial the question. But I asked Kev something similar, and I said, what overall gap do you want to see a 90% win rate? Am I asking that okay? You understand what I'm
Yeah,
asking?
no, that's okay. I guess I'll just ask if we talk overall, so like per player or like. So if we
Right.
said
So
there's like a one overall gap between players, and we're talking like 11, that sort of
so
thing.
so just for simplicity's sake, let's use team overall. And we saw the live midseason report that showed us kind
Yeah,
of like where the 90%. So there is data around this.
I've
And
still
my
not read
question is
that.
like, are you um should the gap be closer? Like should we see 90% win between two teams that are 50 overall different? So like if a team with an 810 overall plays a team with a 760 overall, should we be seeing that 810 team win 90% of the time? So is 50 points enough to see 90%? Do you want to see be 100, 200? Like where's your kind of
A 200% win rate.
well, no.
um,
200 overall having a
no,
90% win
I'm
rate.
messing with it. I think say if you go for like a 50, I feel like 90%'s slightly too high. I think that's what like five, what's that going to be 5, just shy of 5 overall
Yeah.
difference. I think 90% win rate on that is pretty high, and to be fair, I've not read that mid-season report. So was it that 50 overall was 90%?
No,
Oh,
the number was
okay.
quite a bit higher. I want to say like 110 is like 90%. win
Okay,
or
yeah,
draw.
that makes more percent. That's what 10 overall difference between the players. I'd even
Yeah.
say probably 90%, maybe a bit higher than that, like 120 difference. I just think that 90% is 9 out of 10 times, obviously, quick math. But I'd say 90% win rate, probably about like a 120 mark.
Okay. So I think it's an interesting question, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone. So I'm throwing stones, and I know it, but we'll lose a game. Managers will lose a game that they have a 12-point overall variance and complain and say, "I have the better team. Why did I lose? This game sucks." And it's like I think a lot of people would kind of agree that you want to see to have that like very highly predictable win. You want to see a massive gap.
Yeah.
Um, but then still complain in Discord when we lose.
And,
Um,
and ultimately, and I fell victim to this on stream yesterday where I was going, oh, I'm probably going to lose this game because he's got like 90 rated centre backs. And everyone was like, Jimbo, but you preach it's not all about the big number on the front of the card. I'm like,
yeah,
yes, but I still, just looking at it, I make my own, prediction of what the outcome is going to be.
yeah,
And there are, like left and right mids or centre backs or strikers. A left and right mid, 0% of that player's pace is incorporated into the overall. But if you have a player with 90 pace versus a player with 60 pace in the left mid, you know which one's going to perform better. But the guy with 60 pace could have 2 more overall because he's got 2 more passing or 2 more
yeah,
dribbling. But if he's got, piss pace and really good dribbling, how effective is that dribbling? And it's those sort of things. I remember back in the alpha seasons, I used to had a spreadsheet where I would do like V lookups on all the players, and I would look on like who I'm about to play against, and I'd type in all the ID numbers, and it would tell me like, oh, what's their total like passing or average passing stat for their middle line and things like that. Looking a bit more into the actual attributes and the stats of a player, not just the overall. And I've seen sometimes some people have said, can we just get the overall number at the bottom of the lineup? It used to be there. And for the exact reason we're saying here, people just look at that number and go, oh, I've lost a game already. Or, oh, I should win the game already. That was why it was removed. And it's funny that everyone's like, can we bring it back? Like, no, it got removed for a reason. It will just increase this emotion of, oh, I should win. And if you really want to, you can just add 11 numbers up. And you get the averages of each sort of like positional area on the pitch there. So you can sort of do your own piece there with it.
uh, there have definitely been games that I've been sitting on the calculator on my phone, adding it up as I'm down 2-1, and
Yep.
just fuming. And I'm doing it to myself. And the truth is, it's probably the other team has a little better tactics, or it's an even coin flip, right? And sometimes it's
Mm.
heads and sometimes it's tails. Um, and I, just drew tails, or I'm about to come back and draw or whatever. But it's funny. And I think part of the problem is that we all assume that we're better than the other person tactically. Um, I think a lot of us kind of do scouting and look at stuff and we do our rotations and we think that, oh, I'm better than the other person. And the truth
Mm.
is, half the time you're not, just
Yeah.
zero sum. But don't tell me that after I've lost a game because I'm not hearing it.
Yeah, we said it on the pod. Everyone in reality is sore losers. No one wants to lose. If we
Yeah,
remove the outcome of a draw, 50% of the community are going to be happy every game, and 50% are going to be really unhappy. So,
yeah,
yeah, like you said, that's a zero-sum game. That's the way I put it. For someone to win, someone has to lose for the most part in football. So, or if you win, someone else has to lose. Obviously, the draw is the middle ground, and especially when there's games that mean a bit more, it's relegation, playoffs, titles. That emotion is heightened and means more if you lose by a one-off game. But coming from experience, Ryan, you get numb to it after a while because it comes full circle, and I think that on the and obviously listen to the pod, so I'll be repeating myself for you, but I used to say, oh, the luck evens itself out during the season, but I think it's across many seasons now. Your luck gets evened out because of how fast-paced the game is. In real life, you have a bad VAR decision, it will equal itself out within the season. No, I think at MFL it equals itself out and balances itself out across a full season, many seasons, sorry, rather than just one individual
yeah,
season because of how quick it is.
yeah. I play tennis as a personal hobby and exercise, and very recreationally. And I had a friend that went like 0-11 in tie breaks one year, and he was talking about like how unlucky he was and how he was just tiebreak cursed. And I stumbled upon there's a page that calculates all the recreational tennis stuff, uh, and kind of saw the same thing with tie breaks. Like if you look at like 1 year, somebody may have a really good year, but if you look over like 5 or 6 seasons, it all typically kind of falls back to 50%. Um, and much like recreational tennis, kind of mirrors MFL, where if you're too good for your level, you move up or down. They
Hmm.
rebalance stuff every season. Um, it's so like if you're just too good for your level and you're winning those tiebreaks or you're winning your games in Spark because you're too good for your level, you're gonna move up eventually to the point where you belong, and then very quickly those numbers balance out. But we don't look at the big data. We look at why did I lose today.
Mm.
Um, so it's fun and it's interesting. Um,
Imagine,
one of the
God,
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, imagine if games weren't fast paced and you had to wait like an extra week, like, real life for your next game. That would make it even worse. But the fact you go, go to sleep, get over it, wake up, new mindset, fresh day, and then go again. And then if you lose again, you're like, oh my word, got to go through all this again.
Yeah, yeah. Those the the forgiveness is much quicker when you're playing day in and day out, or you have cup games, or
Yep.
multiple teams, and you can just focus on a new point of frustration. Um, but so one of the things I've noticed, and this may just be me not having paid attention when I first joined the site, it feels like a lot of the updates and kind of big announcements and the dev updates have been heavily cosmetic. I made some notes and said kind of we're seeing stuff like net movement, we're seeing curveballs, we're seeing photorealism, jersey updates coming soon. Um, so short of experimental bugs, do you think the gameplay is like very stable to where you're thinking we don't really need big engine updates as long as they keep the bugs out and we're to a point where we can start fine tuning some of the cosmetic stuff, or do you still kind of feel like the engine needs more fixes, more updates, better flow?
Mm, I think the gameplay engine, removing the bugs and things out of it and the things we know are faults is relatively stable. I think it's
Yeah,
far from like obviously I don't think it will ever be a finished product. It never will be. There's always improvements that can be made. I think it's relatively stable. I would like to see them once we hit like an engine that feels decent. I say after like its previous 7 aren't feel decent, but if we find one that's like good, to stick on it for a couple of seasons because I feel like maybe there's this pressure on the team to make sure the engine is out for 6 weeks' time and it's better, and then some things get changed and it impacts opportunity cost of that changes. This thing becomes monumentally worse off, and that has an impact on the season. What season did you join in, Ryan? Again,
between season 1 and season 2.
season 1, season 2. Yeah, so you've basically been yes. So the season was it season 1 was the set pieces. You got an indirect free kick. There's like a 95% chance that once that gets put into the box, you're scoring. So it's almost like how can I cater my teams to just win more fouls outside the box? And there's a lot of predictable things about the engine back then, but where we've come from since then is monumental. I think it's relatively stable. And often look at some of it and go, oh, the positioning's pretty poor or this, that, the other. But obviously when there might be like 3 players all sat on top of each other, which isn't realistic. But then you understand how far the engine's come. And I guess we're all watching it and we want our players to play absolutely perfectly. Unless we can move them around the pitch, but
Yeah,
we don't have the ability to do that. We'll always go, oh, I wish he would have just marked that man better. But
yeah,
actually, you're not crediting the through ball, which is absolutely sliced through your whole defense. Which, if this was real life, you'd be going, wow, it's a hell of a pass.
yeah.
And everything is hindsight once you've watched the highlight. But I think for the most part, it's relatively stable.
Yep. Agree. And shout out to Quentin making very good points in the engine feedback room saying you guys are watching these on highlights. Almost all of the complaints, people are watching the game on highlights. And it's like, why did my center back do this? And it's like error led to goals happen in real life all the
Yeah,
time. That's where goals come from. Like
yeah,
if everyone plays pristine defense, every game ends 0-0, we don't really want that. That would not be a
no.
fun experience.
I've said to use that, yeah, everyone views it in highlights. It's like everyone watching Premier League games through YouTube highlights for 3 minutes. You don't get a picture of how the game actually went. Like,
Yeah.
unless you were at the game or watched it live or watched the full thing on a replay later on, you would never know how that Premier League game actually, the eye test versus a stat test when it
Yeah.
comes to players and things like that, which is totally the same in NFL. And realistically, I think I don't know why I said realistically there, but oh well. I think in my time of since the 2D engine, I've probably watched a full 90 minutes, which is about 40 minutes time, for those who are wondering. Probably about 4 or 5 times, maybe a bit longer, 6 times maybe.
Yeah. I
The
haven't
full
done it.
thing.
I've watched extended highlights. I have not done full 2D
I've
yet.
I've only done that for streams, not out of pure pleasure afterwards, having to go do some scouting analysis. It's been when we've been on stream, where Calvin and I have played each other and we've done a full 90. Ended up
Okay.
being 1-1, absolute turgid game. We sat there for 40 minutes for 2 goals. We were like, oh my, thank God highlights is a feature.
Right. Right. Um, I and I do know there was some feedback that was given, um, kind of talking about like, well, this doesn't feel great, and this is happening too often, and I know that there are takeaways that I think we'll probably see some slight changes in that space in season 8. But if you look at the whole game and big stats and variance, the midseason update kind of breaks it down, and XG, and it all balances out pretty well. The team's doing a really good job, I think, to like hit the big issues, and we're seeing these like small events and complaining about them, and everyone's competitive and wants to win, and we're sore losers to your point. But so when you see that like bad event, like why is my right back running over here, um, and like the big data is like the right outcomes are happening more often than not.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I look at the engine. There's a couple things that like I could raise my hand and be like, I want this to be better, and I want this to be better, and um, I don't want my my right back wandering off, or the offside trap runs up and the right back doesn't follow and they just flow a ball down the middle, because that stuff happens in real life. But like those are frustrating in small points. But overall, like the right events are happening. We don't have like a really bad outcome of too much variance or whatever. I felt like this season had more variance than the midseason update came out. And it was very on trend with season 3, 4, 5, 6. And it was refreshing. And I think I had a couple of bad games and I was scoping, and I realized that the engine I think is in a really good spot. The comment that I made about the bugs, obviously with the experimental engine coming out, there have been some bugs. Obviously, that's going to get taken care of pretty quickly. So short of that, I think my kind of point is that I'm seeing the engine in a really good place, and I think the team is seeing the engine in a really good place and saying, okay, let's go hit some cosmetic things to make the game like more appealing. Like we have the core gameplay where it's good enough, the product is good enough that we can start doing some of the more marketing stuff. So that's fun. Are the introduction of jerseys a big pull for you? I know you talked about kind of the licensing and the branding of the Wyverns. Are you excited to build your first jersey?
I'm definitely excited to build the first jersey. Yeah, obviously I've already got all that, not what they look like in terms of the colours and everything like that sorted out. I know what they'll look like, so it'll be in there. I'll be done within about 5 minutes probably. But I'm excited for that. It's extra, as Calva says, it gives extra flavour to the game. And
Yeah.
it's something that you can either spend 4 hours on or you can spend 4 seconds on.
Yep.
And you probably still get the same amount of enjoyment for whichever, amount of time you spend on it. Some people don't care about it, some people do care about it, but the option's there, but it doesn't hinder your game and your experience if you don't acknowledge it versus if you do acknowledge it. So, and I
Yeah.
guess a lot of what's been happening at the moment, like I said, the cosmetics and it's all been around that rebranding, which was announced sort of during the meetup and then following week subsequent. So I can understand why a lot of that focus has been on there. I still think there are things with like the engine or just features within the game that could be improved on and could be needed. Like I think just like the agent part of the game is very focused towards clubs at the moment. I'm not sure how they could develop that too well. I know some suggestions in the meetup from Palmer and Josh. The two people, especially Palmer, who just bombards Yax with things about like having sort of like a data driven managerial reputation for like when you're loaning players, do you meet X criteria? So then when you're loaning out players, and you can see, for the last, a bit like an Uber review, right? You can see he's done this many, loaned out this many players, loaned in this many players. He's hit the minimum criteria. How much NFL has he earned? All that sort of, but stat driven. So it's not based on, oh, I had a bad experience with you, I'm going to give you a bad Google review, which everyone looks at because it was just such a niche and edge case that happened. Some things like that. And the agent, I'm not sure really how in too much detail without thinking on it much how the agent piece can be fully fleshed out, but it certainly feels like a um a club orientated based game. Obviously it's Football Manager, so if you
Yeah,
want to manage something, you manage clubs. It's not football agent league.
I want to see retirement players have some. I want to use this word very carefully, but utility. Um, and some of the ideas that I had is it would be fun to be able to add them as a coach to a team and have it like not matter at all. But I could see in the future where like before the game starts, you get a picture of the team like lined up in their
Mhm.
kits. And then it's like the picture of the team versus the picture of the team. Like we see that in big Champions League finals, like the PSG team is all kind of lined up and hunched over, and then Madrid. It'd be kind of cool to have that, like see like an aging retired player uh, as a manager on there. And then the other thing was to do like the dev center to be able to
Mm.
assign them in dev center and maybe have slight growth pulls in different areas based on the coach. So like if you had a retired striker, then if you put them in the dev center under that person, then the players developing would have like a slight pull better
Mm.
to their shooting stats. Um, and not that it would make progression better or anything, but maybe if you could tinker it like just a tiny little bit, it might be fun. Certainly wouldn't want to break the game and can't pretend like I would know all the side effects of that, but I thought it just might be fun to have because in probably about a year, we're all going to have guys that are retired that were club legends.
Yeah.
The Timmy Vaughn legend comes to mind. He's going to retire, and it's going to be like, what do I do with Timmy Vaughn now? Like, I have
We've
to keep
lost
him.
a
Like, he's a
hero of the
legend. Yeah.
ecosystem. Yeah, we've lost a man, lost a legend.
So maybe we'll be able to do like statues of retired players outside uh, a stadium. You know, maybe in future years we'll be able to design stadiums, and I'm kind of thinking like a sports video games, like Xbox games when they kind of like come into the stadium and they show the little
Yeah.
like cartoon people walking in. It'd be cool if we get there in the future where we get those kind of like flybys and you have a club icon statue and you're like, man, I remember in season 3 you banged out
Yeah, yeah,
34
yeah.
goals and so I'm sure there's plenty of great ideas kind of swirling around, but uh, it's going to be kind of a bummer when we have these club legends retire. And we're like, well, it's just over, which is the same thing in real life. But
Yeah.
um,
Just on a faster
oh,
time, shorter time scale for us.
sure. But yeah, looking forward to kind of those new updates, those new kind of cosmetic updates, jerseys. Do you think that's having a big impact or will have a big impact on marketability and pulling players in to the game?
I think some of the cosmetic stuff will, but I don't think it'll have a huge pull. Like just because you can change your jersey doesn't mean we're going to
Yeah,
bring in X amount of people. I think some of the bigger things for the UI, like the player profile, the just like the whole overhaul of the website, basically, they're the sort of bigger picture items that will have a bit more of a pull because they will be, I guess, more marketable. They'll be showcased more. A bit like when we had the new player cards and how we saw a big rise in that first pack drop because it was the first chance to look at them before the full players and everyone's agency get Christmas light switched over on
yeah,
a Friday night in the summer. Um, so I think that those big ticket things will turn heads. I think some of the smaller things. I guess it's one of those where it's all small, and then once it's all done, small blocks. Once all these small bits are finished, they become one big piece, like a jigsaw puzzle. And
yeah.
it's usually sometimes with the jigsaw puzzles, not until you put the final couple of pieces in that people go, "Oh wow, that's a great jigsaw you've got there." Oh no, well I've been building it for like a year and you just never noticed. It's something like that. I guess a kind of neat analogy, but
Yeah, the dev team has to feel that way. I'm sure there's times that they're they know the full picture and they're announcing stuff in pieces. And they're like, God, I just wish I could share more. Like, I wish I could just show you guys like what's
Mm.
coming. Um, but yeah, that makes sense. And my personal feelings are that there probably will be bigger events as we continue to have people pull people in from word of mouth. I kind of think if we continue to see growth, we'll continue to see more waves of big content creators or big communities getting pulled in. I kind of think that's where the growth of the game is going to continue to
Mm.
come, is um, these like little explosions. Whether it's somebody coming from Football Manager or EA Sports or whatever it may be. Um, and I,
Yeah, that organic growth through sort of like content creators is how MFL has succeeded. Over
yeah,
the last calendar year, arguably before that as well. Um, and yeah, I think that's the organic growth, the organic angles. I'd like to say the organic growth um, is the way to go. And at the Paris meetup, Matt was very conscious to make people aware of that and remind them that we've not thrown millions or hundreds of thousands at you know uh, marketing to try and bring in people on different platforms. I think there was, funnily enough, I'm not sure I mentioned it in any of the pods really, but um, can't remember who it was now. Like, oh, how did you get into the game? And it was like, oh, I saw like a Facebook ad. And Lucas was literally, we ran one of those at like a random time during like season 0.8 or season 2. It's like, I'm so surprised we have one person who joined because of a Facebook ad. Like, realistically, how many people, maybe it's different over in the States, but, for me anyway, I look at Facebook, I just look at the ads and go, oh, you've just been listening to what I've been saying on my phone or my searches or whatever, and you're catering adverts to it. I'll never click on them. I never click on those adverts. For someone to click on an advert of MFL, of a Web3, game, Football Manager, NFT on their phone, fair play. It was almost like seeing this, like a long lost baby or something. It was, oh my God, you joined from a Facebook ad? And he was like, wow. Lucas was really shocked at that, which is quite fun to see that interaction happen.
yeah, that's fun. That's funny because yeah, 100%. I don't use Facebook too often, but I don't know that I've ever intentionally clicked on an ad. Maybe scrolling and misclicked, and then even then, I'm very quick to like close, 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 close.
Yep.
Like, what did I
Yep.
click on?
Yeah.
Um,
Word of
but
mouth is the best way to
yeah,
to to get something spread.
yeah, yep. So we're not quite in preseason, so these questions may be a little too early. Do you have? I listened to the ramble quite a bit yesterday, and they were talking kind of a lot about this, preparing for season 8 and squad building. And are you there yet? Have you kind of started to wrap your head around what season 8 is going to look like for you?
No, not really. Apart from I've got one club in ice, and I might have a team in iron. I might have a team in silver. I might have a team in
Yeah,
stone. I might have a team in bronze. So I don't really know in that sense. Um, I've talked to a few people about potential transfers in for the Wyverns and said to them, like Zuter, for example, I've got two of his players, an 84 rated left mid and an 81 rated centre back. And I went, regardless of where I am, I'll take the 84 next season. If I somehow end up in silver, the 81 probably won't cut it. So I've just sort of
yeah,
been honest with him in that sense. But I was like, if I stay in bronze, I'll take both. And like I've not really started squad building, and this is where I mean where sometimes some of my view on the game changes, like more of a community shift, where I'm now thinking like, how can I get the Wendert Cups organised? How can I get those things organised? And not that the opportunity cost of that is I spend less time on like my second and my third club, but fortunately I
yeah,
own 99% of the players in those squads for the last 2 seasons, so they're just sort of, in terms of the squads, set and forget and just change tactics and formation, etc. But in terms of squad building, it's the Wyverns I have to pay more attention on.
yeah,
Um, they, I've not done anything for them, not signed a pre-contract. That will all depend on on what happens on Tuesday, or I guess the next couple of days of playoffs.
yeah,
I really want to get in the silver, but I know that I'm just going to be an absolute ball ache trying to get stronger players in. This season for the Wyverns was their strongest ever season on paper relative to other seasons. Before people go, oh, it's the strongest Wyverns. Yes, relative to the last 6 seasons they've been, this was the strongest they've ever been. Which, when everyone else creeps up, literally means that they're the same as last season, the same season
yeah,
before that.
yeah,
So if they can go up, then I've got to bring in more legendaries, basically. And I've only got 2 this season who progressed during the season. But I always try and let progression do its thing with squad building. I don't want to buy players that I just because I want them. I buy players if I need to bring them in. And I'm conscious of also like the long-term planning of seasons ahead, where I don't want a situation where there's a possibility I could have 4 players retiring in the same season because it absolutely kill my agency. So you look at
Yeah.
my squad for the Wyverns anyway, like the comp of it, and there'll be players from like 22 to like 30, and there's sort of like a nice range in between. It's not heavily on 29, not heavily on 30. Yes, there's far better value there, but at the moment, unless I need a player, I'll buy them. But if I don't, I'm just going to let progression take its thing, and hopefully formations and tactics can push me over the line.
Yeah, that makes sense. How far out are you scouting? Like if you have like a 29-year-old, you're like, oh, I'm gonna need a left back in the next 2 to 3 seasons. Are you starting to use watch lists now? Or are you waiting till you see that like that watch or the calendar to kind of go rush and find somebody?
I sort of look at some players and go, let's expect the worst case scenario here that he
Yeah.
retires. He puts up his symbol, his retirement calendar icon in 3 days' time. I've got 3 seasons left of him. Then I'm panicking basically. I don't really use the watch list as much. The problem is I don't remove things from my watch list. It just becomes a gigantic watch list. Well, I wish we could maybe bring in like subsets of the watch list, or there might even be a multi-remove. I've just never actually used it. There's some things I joked about for not really. There was a price filter on the marketplace, which is because I just never filter by price, so I never knew it was there. Right
Yeah.
above the position ones. But I have a lot of marketplace filters that I change sort of 3 or 4 each season, which are like, oh, rares under this age for the Wyvern season 8. And I'll basically keep looking at the marketplace and seeing how it develops, and looking after reward day, looking after pack drop day to see those marketplace shifts with players. And then when I feel the price is right, I might dive in for a player, or I might negotiate with a player. But what helps me a lot is just, which is the biggest piece of advice I have for people, is just getting to know other managers and that community aspect to it. You could argue I'm in a fortunate position that because I know a lot of people, I have a lot of people to contact to. So I've got that large pool of people I can tap into, which I'm very fortunate about. The guys in the Ballers now, I get sorted out with quite a few loans from them. But I also do my fair share of giving loans out to people, especially in the Wendirt Discord. I'll try and prioritize them. I
Yeah.
always joke about Calver trying to eke out percentages from people. I'm like, bro, just take him on a 2%. Like, I'm not bothered if he's like a 60 rated player or a 70 rated player. If
Yeah.
you want him and he's like 30 odd, you use him for like 2%. Just do 2 plus 2. Whereas Cal, I always joke about this. Cal was like, Jimbo, I'm not accepting your contract because I've been offered 1% more in bronze. And I'm like, come on, man. I've done a pod with you for 2 years and you won't accept this. And he did really well last season for me. I got him progression +1. But you want the extra percent to a bloke who's got a worse team than mine. Oh, come along sort of thing. But yeah. So unless I need a player, I will I won't purchase. I very rarely purchase players because unless I need them. But when it comes to like rewards, I'll do a little bit of a mix between selling some of the reward packs to fund if I need to target players, but also opening a couple of like uncommon reward packs to hopefully get lucky with some, because they can go into like the ice team and maybe the lower end of the stone team and fund that, which can be quite fun. I'd like to open packs because that the generosity part of me just loves that
Yeah.
gamba feel and the hopium of pulling an absolute wonder. It's like, for example, for the 100th episode, MFL did this really generous giveaway where everyone who retweeted, they gave away like 100 MFL, and then 10 people won it, and then they split the other 50% between Calver and I. I think we got like 10,000 MFL each, which is really generous of the community and also MFL for just offering to do that anyway. But I think I opened the limited reward pack and then gave away the other 8K on like streams and stuff.
Oh, cool.
But the limited reward pack I got was like a 63 rated centre back, 17 years old. And I was like, wow, this is just so jammy, man. Like, I've not opened a pack for like the whole season. I was like, this is so lucky. I'm so lucky
Rig.
here. And
Hashtag rig.
exactly rigged. Rigged. Just ignore the 8,000 MFL I've just given away off the back of it as well.
Yeah.
But it's completely rigged. But yeah, some of it is up to chance and luck, which is how the game is. But I always go back to if I need a player, I get him. If I want a player, I'm like, sleep on it. No, you're just in the heat of the moment. Like buy anything in real life.
Yeah.
Spontaneous.
Yep. I think that's a great discipline to have. I bought a couple players 2 seasons ago. Um, I had Dapper Wallet from the Disney Bucks and stuff, I think. And I was like, well, I want more MFL, so I'm going to buy a player and then loan them out, and hopefully they progress and it's a good long term buy. Um, and the one player that comes to mind, it wasn't awful, but it ended up being not. He's decreased in value, his age decreased in value, and I don't think I've kind of paid back the cost. I'm looking back, I'm like, I just randomly bought somebody because I had money. I'm like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
But it was fun and I learned a lesson. So
That's the main thing. As long as it's fun,
yeah,
then I think it's okay. Like if you're playing NFL and not having fun, rather need to address how you can change your ways to have fun, or if the game's not for you. Like if I'm doing anything, people are, oh, why are you doing that? I'm enjoying what I'm doing. If
yeah,
I'm enjoying it, no one else should really care. If I'm, people go, oh, look at my cousin or whatever, and like, oh, you're streaming or you're podcasting, oh, blah 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 blah. I'm like, bro, I enjoy it. I don't really care. We could have this
yeah,
little family feud at Christmas after one too many beers or whatever, and I got one of those like sort of like fun uncles that just takes a piss out of you all the time. And I can't repeat some of the things he says on there because it's just far too explicit. But he'll
yeah,
just say things, and I'm like, oh, just shut up, man. It's all jokey. But as long as you're having fun doing something, I don't think anyone should really care.
yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Within reason. Like you can't just go sort of, just nuke everyone because you have fun nuking people. That's because you kill millions of people. That's not quite right. There's got to be a line we draw here.
In the MFL space, bad decisions are
Yeah.
forgiven for fun, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So taking kind of a quick back look at my questions, I know we've run kind of long on time. Want to make sure I don't miss any of the good stuff. Any kind of notes or anything you are excited about or want to talk about as we go forward?
Ooh. Any? What am I excited about? I'm excited. Well, I guess season 8's just an obvious answer, but there's something
Yeah.
about like the seasons go so quick and they go so slow and they go so quick, and I'm very much looking forward to season 8 from an NFL point of view, from a When Dirk point of view. Like I'm not doing the playoffs, but I'm kind of gutted. It's like I could stream like during the off season or during then, but I try and do like one or two about sort of like AMAs or squad building and answer people's questions, but it's not quite the same as like the watch songs where people get to watch the games and have fun and that sort of piece. So I always look forward to like when the next stream is, and just how we can make people's MFL experience better. Like I said, throughout my point of view on MFL has been so much more community focused now. We've got some changes coming to When Dirt sort of like the next couple of months, which will be exciting. We ventured to like season 3 now. We usually say every 50 episodes is a season. And now I know we're on 104. We've not quite made that transition because we've got to wait like 6-7 weeks before we can like make some changes. But there's some exciting stuff coming there. Obviously the When Dirt Cups will be back. I'm going to try and bring in a lower one as well. I think we do 700, 800, and 910. I'm going to try and bring in like a 600, just so people who have like the flints and the sparks can get more involved and not get absolutely whoop ass by people. So I look forward to that. I look forward to season 8. And just every game I have really.
Yeah, for sure.
Not necessarily a particular feature I'm looking forward to. I just enjoy playing MFL.
Yeah. You got my brain rolling when you talked about the updates and upcoming to Wendirk. I'm excited to see what changes come. When you guys started, you were audio only. Is that correct?
We were audio only, yeah, until we've done the streams. We used to only stream the pack drops, and then Zootech was like, you can just do like. We ever thought about doing video on Spotify? I was like, well, we do video anyway. Like, we're recording right now. There's visual. I was like, we have it. We just don't do it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Obviously, there's extra complications. Not extra complications, but say to people like, are you fine with your face being on the internet and things like this, and etc. And I guess some people, if they've not been on sort of a podcast or any sort of content before, there's far more pressure when you're on visually. Even though we're talking off air, that for the most 99% of people don't really care what other people look like, but you as an individual care what you look like. I've got a big
Yeah.
spot on in the middle of my forehead here, just above my eyebrow, and you were like, I don't really care, I don't notice it. I'm like, yeah, I notice it because it's not usually there.
Yeah.
For some people, it's a bit more nerve wracking. Speaking on visuals, but yeah, we've done visuals since what, episode 60 now, which is kind of crazy. Both on Spotify and YouTube, because the same file just gets uploaded to both, so it makes no difference to me. We used to do SoundCloud as well for the audio, but that was just such a ball ache to like have a third platform to put it on, whereas Spotify for podcasts just pushes it everywhere for us, and then YouTube's
Oh,
just
nice.
separate. So
Nice. Awesome. Looking forward to that. I did have one question. I feel like my order here is terrible. I'm kicking myself, but that I skipped over and I wanted to bring up. So the question that I had was, do you think So Rare is impacting the marketplace? You guys talked about in the show this week the kind of ups and downs and ebbs and flows. I kind of very naturally associated that with So Rare's European season kicking off.
yep.
And I know that all of the managers don't overlap. Um, but even if it's 20%, if you have 20% that are trying to make some funds to go buy So Rare players with the kickoff of the Prem, like I naturally expected a bit of a wave. So Rare has been kind of famous for having waves with the start of seasons, just kind of the way their model works. And I naturally anticipated that. So when we saw a bit of a dip, I was like, yeah, of course. Like I didn't even flinch, and I'm kind of thinking that it's going to come back as winter and spring summer come.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that has a big impact, or do you think I'm kind of giving to So Rare's infrastructure too much credit on the?
I think the So Rare 26 European season starting probably has some influence on what we're seeing, like a decrease in the marketplace, and by that we're saying like some of the, I always said the uncommon and rare because that's two that mainly look at. Like the average prices of 20 to 26-year-olds is the lowest been since season one. But then you've got more demand, more people playing, therefore more players, more people selling. I think there's a little bit of some people, if they join season 2, season 3, maybe season 4, could just be taking some profits from selling players. There's that bit as well. I've noticed it more with people selling, and that's coming from someone who has the buy and sell channels muted for like the last year. So if I'm noticing it just from people outside of not even viewing those channels, then it's clearly something that's a bit more. Don't think it's anything major, but definitely Sorrow 26 has probably taken some people. We had a lot of people join during that, Nep led, when people like Quinny, McBride, the Ramble guys, a lot of it, everyone from that captured a massive amount of people from So Rare.
Yeah.
And it would be naive to think that they would maybe rotate some money out of MFL back into So Rare to make you, especially with the streaks being decreased point tally, increased rewards. I play So Rare. 90% of my agency is Norwich, not as much now, but like 10% USG. I've bought a stack for the Belgian Pro League and then Contender. What I'll probably end up doing is it's like 50 to like 80 quid or so. And I'm not a massive So Rare player, but it's brought me in to spend that amount of money for this.
Yeah.
And what I'll probably end up doing is any ETH I make will no doubt funnel its way back into MFL again. That's probably what I will end up doing. I know other managers are doing the same thing. So I think it's maybe people like rotating portfolios of game, or that rotating their portfolio between games. Obviously, there's the football.fun thing, which launched the last couple of weeks, which I think is maybe sap some people like, I'll take some profits from MFL and put it into there. But I think it's just like a natural cycle of ebbs and flows. And all it takes, because we know how fast-paced MFL is, how fast-paced So Rare is. Yes, it's over a year, but in the summer, Soro is moving the goalpost so much, and suddenly it only takes like one or two announcements, and suddenly everyone's, oh my god, back on board again. That's the same with MFL. All it takes is one or two big announcements, updates. Sentiment can change so quickly in this sort of like Web3 space. It's unbelievable. So all it takes is one announcement that changes something, or suddenly retired players get some utility, or something that means people want to invest more. Then yeah. So I think So Rare, could you say itself is impacting the marketplace? No. Is it a contributing factor to the influence of the marketplace right now? Yes, I think it is. Unsure about what the degree it is. You could argue when the new Football Manager comes out, some of the Football Manager players might they spend less time on the game, so might want to decrease their agency size until they're so it's more manageable. I think we're seeing a few managers decrease in club sizes because the more updates they get added, the more time consuming it is. So props to
Yeah.
people like MakeThink and especially Trust, who don't know how they do it, to be fair. I know how they do it, but I don't really know how they do it.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to some other people about this, like Josh, for example, and his point is summer holidays as well. People might want to just take less time playing video games during the summer. They're out for family. In the UK, it's summer holidays. It's a 6-week period where all the students are off, and it gets quieter at work because everyone's on leave, etc., etc. So yeah, it's one of the contributing factors, but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. So, and NFL are pretty dynamic with how they address things like this. Like, oh, we'll have less packs for next pack drop. I wouldn't be surprised if that was happening. Maybe by a couple hundred, but it'd still be less. So
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be weighing in all of the inputs to the equation, right? Players retiring, players here, total number of clubs. And like for me as a user, I'm not paying attention to the details.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I'll hear them. I'll hear Lucas or somebody talk about we have 20.4 players per club and we have this many players retiring and this impacts this. And I'm like, I'm glad they're thinking about it because I'm not. And if this was just
Yeah.
a total mess, I would never know until until it was all gone. I'd be like, what happened? And they're like, the writing was on the wall. Where were you? I'm like, I was just having fun. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought it was interesting because I've seen some kind of conversations around prices, and I'm like, yeah, we had a huge boom, and then
Natural for a cool off. It's completely natural.
yeah,
This is obviously in hindsight and from seeing the full chart of the marketplace for prices, but it happens. You look back on prices from 18 months ago, we're way up. Remember first day back. I don't think he plays. I was going to say Unity. Picking up and people like Basil, for example, which is so rare, guys. You'll know from the Basil
yeah,
bot sort of thing.
yeah,
Purchasing like 89, 90 rated players for like $200. That's
yeah,
insane. It's insane. So, and I think there's probably some people as well who may have big agencies, maybe OGs, haven't done some long-term planning, are doing some long-term planning, or they just want to cut down their agency to, take profits, rotate money. Yes, NFL is a game and it's fun, and we always go with that mindset, but there is an element of the economy to it. So you'd be naive to think that people aren't playing for money to try and make money, but that shouldn't be people's sole focus. But some people, if they see, like a 10x on a player, they're not dumb to. You're dumb not to sell that. It's so in some opinions, if it's too good to be true, then
yeah,
see if you can get it out. But yeah, I think it's just a combination of many factors, which all it takes is one of them not to happen, and everything just booms again, or some big YouTuber or someone gets involved, and suddenly we skyrocket again. We still look such a small, immature, small immaturity game within a couple thousand users.
yeah,
If we hit we triple or double, then it's they're big numbers, and that's where they have the aspirations to be.
yeah, for sure. If somehow 20,000 users came in, the game would feel and look sure change.
No,
If we
not
brought
quite,
in
not quite.
how did Ron John get in here with the shirt change? If we had 20,000 users join, the ecosystem would look much different, and the planning that we did today, we'd be kicking ourselves like, I should have bought more young uncommon players or wherever that
Oh
mark
yeah.
is. Yeah, it caught my interest, and I had not heard too many people talk about kind of the so rare impact, and maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but I wanted to kind of bring it up. I had that kind of earlier in my talk list, but
It definitely has an impact. Yeah, I think you can't say it doesn't. I think that's the way to look at it.
yeah, awesome. Well, appreciate you joining me. It was a blast. We'll certainly have you back. Appreciate the tips and tools before we jumped on recording, helping me out with some of the cosmetic pieces of the stream and the recording. So greatly appreciate that. Greatly appreciate your time.
No,
Any final closing remarks?
I was just gonna say no. Thank you to you, Ryan, for inviting me on. It's been an absolute delight. We'll have to bring you on the Wendirk pod at some point. We'll get you scheduled in. But yeah, big thank you for having me on. Loving watching, listening, in the background of multiple tabs while also working to these. So keep doing what you're doing. I look forward to the new managers, new users you have on in the future.
Yeah, it's a blast. Good luck to you in playoffs. We'll chat soon.
Likewise, take care.
Yeah.